So we'll talk about RS-232 interface, and this is a standard 232. And we'll talk about the physical and data link layer interfacing of RS-232. So in early 1960s, the data communications were thought to mean digital exchange between a centrally located mainframe computer and say a remote uh, computer terminal, and even between these terminals, you don't need a uh, computer to be involved. So these devices are linked by telephone voice lines, and therefore they required a modem at each end for the signal translation. It's a simple concept as it is seen today, but the design was fairly complex to cater for many opportunities for data error, of course, that occur when transmitting data through an analog channel. So as this was happening, a standard was needed to ensure reliable data communication and just to enable the interconnection between the equipment produced by different manufacturers now. Now, from these factors, to foster the benefits of mass production, a standard committee, known today as EIA, Electronic Industries Association, developed the RS-232 standard as a common interface standard for the data. It was way back, but still, RS-232 is quite important. So for this data communication equipment, those are generic. So the standard evolved over the years, and in 1969, RS-232C, that is the third revision, became the standard of choice of PC makers. And more recently, EIA 232F standard was introduced in 1997, and the current version V.24 and version 28 was issued in 1996 and 1993. 1993 here, 1996 here. Okay. So what is the aim of this RS-232? The aim is to describe the RS-232 interface and to look at how its functionality relates to the physical and data link layer of ISO OSI model, that is Open System Interconnect model. So we'll look into how this data link layer directs the physical layer in respect of the sender, and how the data link layer interprets the data from the physical layer at the receiving end. And I hope that you are aware of ISO OSI layers. So this RS-232 standard is the standard for connection of sending DTE, that is data terminal equipment and data communication equipment, to the receiving DCE and DTE. So we have one point here, other point here, a node here. We have the data terminal equipment, data communication equipment, and both here. So this is a standard of connection of the sending of the data. This DTE, data terminal equipment, is a device that forms the part of information processing of a system. For example, it can be computer, it can be a terminal or a printer. While this DCE is a device that provides an interface between this DTE and a communication link, usually a modem. So RS-232 standards have developed to specify the interface between DTE and DCE to get this right. So see, this I was talking about. This is the data terminal equipment at both the side. In between you have modem, which is DCE. So this is RS-232, and in between we have PSTN dial-up or lease link. So the flow of information from a sending DTE and DCE to a receiving DTE, you will see. So in terms of this exchange of data between transmitting DTE and receiving DTE, we can graphically view it as like this. So this is the diagram which is representing the bottom two layers of ISO OSI model. There are 7 layers in ISO OSI model. These are the last two. So the information is sent from DTE and make its way down to the layer of the OSI model until it reaches the data link layer. This data link layer converts the information into bit stream 0 and 1 and tells the physical layer to exchange bits with the other physical layer. So the sending physical layer converts the bit stream into the disturbances, and determine the speed of these disturbances. The receiving physical layer means this one. It detects these disturbances and converts the disturbances back into the bit stream and passes it to the above data link layer. So this data link layer checks the bit stream is all in order, remove any superfluous data and pass it through the other layers of the OSI model. Now for this we need some protocol. Why? To enable communication between the sending and receiving DTE or DCE, rules are required to govern how the interface is going to be managed. For example, just think why you have a power company and your house. Okay, so the power company transmit electrical energy at a very high voltage, that is maybe 100,000 volts. So it is not good idea to bring this much volt into your new house, and that will cause damage to you to your equipment. So at the first step of interfacing, the voltages are reduced to the safe levels. Then the power company dictates the connection requirements into the power system. And thirdly, inspects the building, of course yours, to ensure the wiring conforms to the required standard. So in this example, the interface protocol prevented the damage to the power company distribution system, prevented also the damage to your equipment, and also provided usability among many consumers and different types of equipment. So this RS-232 standard sets protocol. This standard is a protocol only for similar reason as the power company does. So in case of RS-232 standard set protocols for the interface between DTE and DCE. So physical layer, what happens in physical layers? The physical layer defines the electrical, mechanical and procedural functional specification of activating, maintaining and deactivating the physical link between communicating network systems. And within this physical layer, RS-232 standard, it defines the signaling levels, the data rate, the transmission distances, and the physical connectors to be used. And the primary reason for this is to enable the sending DTE and DCE to effectively communicate with the receiving DTE and DCE. So signaling levels. And what about the signaling levels? As we have stated earlier, the physical layer converts the bit stream into 0 and 1 into the disturbances. So within the RS-232 standards, these disturbances are represented as voltages along the transmission medium, usually a copper wire between the sending and receiver DTE and DCE. The strength of the voltage traveling along this copper wire determines whether it will recognize as 0 or 1 by the receiving physical layer. This is represented like this. This is logic 0, logic 1. So depending upon the disturbances, it will go to 0 or say 1. So this diagram shows that a 1 is represented by an electric signal which is of negative voltage and 0 by a positive voltage. So the receiving physical layer is able to recognize these positive and negative voltage, and they can convert them into a recognizable bit stream of which the data link layer can interpret. So this passing of disturbances, or you can say voltage scenario by the physical layer is like this. You can see that the sending physical layer converts the bit stream into voltages, transmit them into along this transmission medium, and the receiving physical layer recognizes the voltages as either positive or negative and converts them back into zeros and ones, so they are recognizable by the data link layer now. These are the specific voltage levels of RS-232 standards. You see, these are logic 0. The TX means transmitter, RX means receiver. So in this logic 0 is 5 to 15 and logic 1 is -5 to -15. See, 1 is represented by a negative voltage. In the receiver end, it is quite higher than the transmitter or TX, because it is 3 to 25 minus 3 to -25. The differences in the voltage become important and the cable maximum lengths are being read between DTE and DCE. So RS-232 supports up to 15 meter. The larger range of voltage at the receiver means it may be able to pick up a weaker signal. That is why this is higher. That is why it need to pick up the weaker signal, which may have been caused by the long this signal may have got feeble and because of long cabling. Then we come to the physical connectivity. These are the common connectors in use. This is R25. C25 pin RS232 connector. This is the one defined in the standard. And this connector is a 9-pin RS232 connector. So you have 25 pin, 9 pin. And on a PC, this is known as a serial port. So this RS232 has 9 ports, serial port. In your PC, you will be able to find it. And this connector is a modular 9-pin connector. We also know it as a RJ45 connection. So this table of 9 pin, the connectors which allow physical components to interconnect. However, how the cabling is wired to various pins determines whether the sending and receiving physical layers will be able to communicate. So the 9-pin connector will be used to explain how this physical layer is going to communicate. For example, we have this DB9 pin corresponding DB25 pin also. So 9 pin from 1, say 2. So if one will talk about the DCD signal, that is data carry detect. Second corresponding to the third one in DB25, receive data, transmit data, clear to send, request to send, data set ready, signal ground, data terminal ready, etc. So let us start with the DTE. At the physical layer, it can be a terminal, a computer, or a printer, or a fax also. It sends data on transmitted data, that is TXT, and receive data, RXT. This asserts request to send when it is ready to receive request to send, and it waits for clear to send to be asserted before sending. Assert data terminal ready, DTR, is when ready and waiting to receive, and expects data set ready to be asserted before performing this sending, and also expects DCD, data carrier detect, to be asserted before the receiving. At DCE, at the physical layer, this DCE takes the bit stream, converts them into signal or voltages, and then introduces the signal onto the telecommunication medium. Normally, the DC is known as modem, and the wiring is the inverse as that of the DT. The most common lines are RXT, TXT, and SG. The others are used with the model filters and plotters to indicate the internal states. RTS and CTS lines, and DTR and DSL lines. So this RTS and CTS, they are used by the physical layer to start and stop a transmission. When DT or DC starts the transmission by sending a voltage from -5 to -15, down binary 1 of the RTS line. Once the receiving physical layer receives the signal, it responds by sending a negative voltage, that is -5 to -15, and down CTS line. And if the physical layer wants to stop or interrupt the transmission, it will send a +5 to 15 volt, that is binary 0, down the CTS line. In this way, the physical layer is able to control the flow of data and start or stop a transmission. With this DTR and DSL lines, these are used to establish a connection between physical layer at the very beginning. A good way of looking at it as a handshaking of the modem at the sending and receiving physical layers. So the sending physical layer sets this DTR by 1 by sending this -5 to 15 down the line, or and receiving physical layers, this answers with the binary 1 by sending -5 to 15 down the DSR line. So this is indicating that the flow of data, which is represented by voltages between the physical layers, can commence now. SD, the signal to ground, is a logical ground which is used as a reference point for all signals received or transmitted. And you have to note that these above 7 lines, they are often referred to as a 7-wire connection or a handshake connection. In this DCD, the modem uses this line to indicate that it has detected the carrier of the modem on the other side of the phone line. And voltages once again are used to do this. What about these transmission distances? So cable length standards are important to protect the integrity of the signal and to allow sending and receiving of DTE and DCE to communicate effectively. So a good example to understand why this is the case is to think of a person getting down a piece of PVC pipe. Say you have PVC pipe, the longer the pipe, the weaker his voice will be at the receiving end. So the same is true with the data communication. The longer the cable, the weaker the signal becomes at the receiving end. So this is the reason that the voltage range is greater at the receiving end than the transmitting end. It allows for degradation of the signal, that is the weaker voltages. So RS232 standard sets the maximum cable length as 15 meters. You have RS422 other standards also that may go up to 100 meters. So this RS232 between DCE and DTE for signal rates which are less than 20 kbps, 15 meters. So this standard is designed to ensure maximum communication speed which can occur, and longer cable distances can be achieved, but the data rate will be reduced as a consequence. Since the standard was written, cable quality has improved considerably, which now allows much more greater distance to be achieved, and much larger distance are achieved once the signal is forwarded into the transmission line of a telecommunication system. For example, PSTN line as the signal is regenerated through signal boosters and optical isolators. Now we come to the data link layer. The data link layer, it provides a reliable transit of data across the physical network link. And to do this, protocol are set for link management, flow control, and data framing and error handling. This RS-232 was created to interface between DTE and DCE, implying serial binary data exchange. So this RS-232 standards defines a universal asynchronous receiver transmitter method, UART, for receiving and sending of data between the data link layers. So this is an example of serial transmission using an asynchronous protocol, which will be just explained now. So serial transmissions, a computer generate data in group of bits, and this grouping of data allows it to be sent all at once. So this is called parallel transmission. But parallel transmission has a disadvantage in speed, but was expensive and was usually limited to short distance. So this lead to development of serial transmission. So although slower, it was very cost effective. The RS-232, it uses this serial binary exchange, and this is simply a serial transmission of binary digits one after the other from one DTE-DC to another DTE-DC. A good everyday example is to think of a train which is departing from a station in location 1, which has 10 carriages. Okay? A train which has 10 carriages, following one after another on a single track, and it arrives at location 2, from 1 to 2. In this example, the sending DTE-DC would be, say, sub X station. Okay, the binary digits are the train carriages, and the track in the median, and the second one is the receiving DTE or DC. This is the graphical representation of a serial binary exchange. So this is sending DTE. These are sent one after another, and these are lines which are needed. And this is parallel to serial converter. In receiving end also, this is serial to parallel converter. So we have seen that earlier computer produced data in groups using parallel transmission. Therefore, the conversion device are DCE. They are required at the interface. These are two interface between this sender and the line, and between the line and the receiver to make it parallel to serial and vice versa. So there are two serial methods, synchronous and asynchronous. It's asynchronous. So we'll start with the asynchronous serial communication. In this asynchronous serial transmission, asynchronous means that something is not synchronized. This means something is not synchronized, that is not occurring at predetermined or regular intervals. And the term asynchronous is usually used to describe the communication with the data can be transmitted intermittently rather than in a steady stream. For example, a telephone conversation. This is asynchronous because both parties can talk whenever they like, although hopefully not at the same time. So asynchronous serial communication means that the data is sent serially and can stop and start at any time. So if starting or stopping at any time is possible, the receiver must have a way to distinguish between the valid data and the noise. So in an asynchronous protocol, this is accomplished through a special start bit and a stop bit at the beginning and end of each piece of data. For this reason, this asynchronous communication is sometimes also known as start and stop transmission. The start and stop bit alert the receiver to the beginning and end of each byte of data, which allow it to synchronize with the bit stream. This bit stream is broken up into characters, and the data link layers then frame the character by adding a start bit, parity, and one or two stop bits at the end. This is the parity bit, which is used to test the data integrity. Say this is the start bit, this is the stop bit, you have a parity bit. And this is your data word from here to here, and this is the clock line. Then this diagram, which you have just seen, in this you can observe that it is an example of how a character is framed with the start and stop bit, and this is called a frame. The bottom line, it shows the clock line and how it synchronizes with the bit data stream. Synchronization of the clock line, it commences at the start bit. A parity bit is usually added before last bit of the character and the first stop bit. So the parity bit provides a check that the data has been sent correctly. The value of the parity is determined with the character being sent. It is in the simplest form. The parity bit will be calculated in two ways, either even or odd parity. So even parity ensures that the number of bits sent will always contain an even number of logical ones. Therefore, if the number of ones in the character is odd, the parity will be 1 to make it even. Otherwise, 0 is added to ensure it stays even. So this table provides you some example of even parity checker. See, there are 3 ones, so you have to add 1. These are 4 ones, so you don't require. These are 5 ones, so you require 1. And this you have 2 ones, so you don't require. The parity can be 0. So the odd parity method is the inverse of the even parity method. Now we come to UART, Universal Asynchronous Receiver and Transmitter. This UART is held within the data link layer and it is responsible for controlling the RS-232 port. The purpose of UART is what? First, sending data link layer UART convert bytes from the DTE into a serial format and frames of the data by adding necessary start, stop, and parity bits, and then transfer it to the physical layer. Then the physical layer sends it up to the data link layer. The UART converts the incoming bit stream into bytes, remove the start and stop bit, check the parity bit before passing it to the above layers of ISO or SI model. This diagram shows how this is worked. So see, this is the physical layer. At the physical layer, voltages are sent representing ones and zeros, and in this the bytes are converted into serial format and framed like this. This is the sending data link UART, and now you have this start bit, stop bit, and parity bit. At the receiving end, this serial bit stream is converted back into bytes from the bits which are removed. Okay. Apart from this, we have serial transmission, synchronous. We have seen about asynchronous. This is synchronous serial transmission. So in this synchronous serial transmission, we send bits one after each other without start and stop bits or gaps, right? In synchronous serial transmission, we send bits one after another without start and stop bits or gaps. The sending and receiving DT, DC synchronize using a clock that precisely times the period separating event. So by checking the clock, the receiving DT can determine if the bit is missing or if an extra bit has been introduced into the bit system. This to gain a better understanding of this synchronous communication. A good example is to think of a conveyor belt where the product is passing through a sensing device every 5 seconds. So the receiver knows that you have a conveyor belt and the items are passing with a sensor every 5 seconds. So if a sensing device senses something in between 5 seconds interval, it assumes that whatever is passing is a foreign object of some sort and it sounds an alarm. So if on the 5-second interval nothing goes by it, it assumes that the product is missing and it again sounds an alarm. So one aspect of this serial transmission is that if either the sending or receiving DT loses its clocked signal, the transmission of data will be terminated. The advantage of synchronous transmission is speed because the less overhead of putting the extra bit, start, stop, parity, etc. are being introduced at the sending end and removed at the receiving end. This is a synchronous transmission system which is graphically represented like this, sending off the data. Directly you can send the data. The sender constantly send bits down the line and bits are sent as a long constant bit stream. So we have this receiving DTE and DC. This receiver counts and it places it into the groups. So the common synchronous protocol which is in use in RS-232 is high level data link control. So this protocol will be used to explain how the data link layer directs and interprets data sent to the to and received from the physical layer. So how data is directed and interpreted from the data link layer to the physical layer? The high level data link control HDLC protocol correspond to layer 2, that is data link layer of the ISO 7 layer, and will be used to explain how data is directed and interpreted from data link layer to the physical layer. So HDLC is a synchronous bit oriented protocol used for point to point and multi-link configurations, and this HDLC protocol is responsible for flow control and error free movement of data between network nodes. So it does this by using the commands and checks which are held within the frame data. So that there are 3 types of frame data: unnumbered frames used for link, managed information frames carry the actual data, and supervisory frames. They are used for error and flow control. So these are the frames that are graphically represented. These are the information frame, these are the supervisory frame, and these are the unnumbered frames. So each of the frames have flag fields, as you can see, flag. Address field, address. Control field, control. And the frame check sequence, that is FCS. So the flag field is an 8-bit sequence of the number that identifies both the beginning and end of the frame, and this serves as a synchronization pattern for the receiver. The address field contains the address of the DTE, that is either the originator or destination of the frame, and this control frame is used for flow management. This FCS is an error detection field. Unnumbered frames. These unnumbered frames are specifically used for link management and control information. And the frame sets up a logical link between DC and DTE by directing the physical layer to do so. So when flag is received, it will trigger an initialization or data transfer between the sending and receiver physical layer. And the control field of unnumbered frame will then tell the physical layer what to do through a 2-bit command. And the command normally redirects to mode setting, termination, and initialization. Information frames. Once the link has been established, between the sending and receiving data through the unnumbered frames, it triggers the physical layer to activate the transmission and receiving lines. This means that the data link layer is now able to send the information frames down the physical layer. And data transfer will continue until an unnumbered termination frame is received. Then the control field. The control field of the information frame has an error and flow control sequence. So this tells the data link layer which frame has been sent, what order it was received, and if damaged, the need for it to be retransmitted. What about these supervisory frames? These supervisory frames is also sent down the physical layer lines for acknowledgement, flow control, and error control. The frame is specifically sent by the data link layer to direct the physical layer what to do. And it does this by the series of commands within the control frame. It tells the physical layer when to return a positive acknowledgement of a received frame, to poll to see if a DT's physical layer has anything to send, and to give a negative response to a poll, indicating there is nothing to send, and to give a positive response to poll, indicating there is something to send, and stop sending frames until a certain frame is received. So these were ideas about RS-232. We have seen a lot about the physical layer and data link layer interfacing, the synchronous and asynchronous UART. So thank you so much. Take care.